Hi everybody, welcome back to the Looney Bin. My name is Looney, and today I want to talk to you about a very specific character. This character is who I consider one of the best and greatest female characters of all time, one of the best heroines of all time, and one of the best video game characters of all time. This character has really inspired so many fans out there in the world because of not only who that character is and what game she's in, but what she represents for so many people. So many people can relate to this character and they love her because of how relatable she is to them. And while I do relate to her in many different ways, I think that one of her best qualities is her kindness and hard work that she truly shows throughout the entire franchise in Final Fantasy VII. This character is Tifa Lockhart. And so many people always believe that Tifa Lockhart is, for some strange reason, not a great character and is really only, loved because of her body. I find that a foolish statement because guess what? A character is way more than that. A character that is well written, has a great dynamic with other characters, and is essential to the plot is what matters most to me and to many other individuals as what a great character should be. So I want to talk to you today about exactly who Tifa Lockhart is, why I like her, and why I think she is essential and one of the biggest and most important characters of Final Fantasy VII. So to begin, who is exactly Tifa Lockhart? Tifa Lockhart is a really wonderful character who really represents the kindness and the heart of Final Fantasy VII. Because it is through her that so many things happen between a lot of the characters. Right? Whether it be Cloud, whether it be Barrett, whether it be Aerith, whether it be Yuffie. She represents so much for so many other characters in the plot of Final Fantasy VII that she should be considered one of the two heroines of the series alongside Aerith. And I believe that because of who she is, so many people love her. So many people can resonate with her, relate to her, get inspired by her, and love her for who she is, despite some of her faults. One of the biggest qualities of Tifa Lockhart is her kindness. She is one of the more kindest individuals in the entire series and in the entire world of Final Fantasy VII. And so many different pieces of story of her past showcase all this, right? Tifa Lockhart was born in Nibelheim alongside Cloud. I think they were like a year or so apart, or maybe like several months apart, in age. And despite how some people see her as a bully, she was not a bully. In fact, she was one of the characters who really wanted to hang out with Cloud, and for the most part, they did hang out with Cloud. Right? She did hang out with him. They hung out when they were kids. Then they slowly separated because of Cloud's own insecurities, and because Cloud just really thought that he was better than the other boys that were starting to, get along with Tifa. And this is literally something that Cloud says himself. Tifa, as a child, was very much an extrovert. She was very girly. She loved makeup. She loved dresses. She did a lot of the things like, normal girls did. And as she got older, she kind of grew distant, from Cloud, simply because Cloud himself was trying to, keep that distance. Until, Cloud invited her to the water tower, where she realized that she was in love with Cloud. And after that, she constantly, asked about Cloud, how he did in Soldier, and, really wanted to try to find who she was. She started learning how to fight with Zangan. She started to learn more about like Mount Nebel and like how to, climb the mountain, to help, as well as cook, to help her dad, as well as the other members of Nibelheim whenever they had to go up to the factory for work. And she started to learn all of this stuff, sewing, cooking, and all that because, she wanted to learn this and she also kind of had to, right? And then the Nibelheim incident happened and she essentially lost everything. She lost her dad. She thought that she lost every single person in Nibelheim, to the point where like she thought that she was the only survivor left. And it wasn't until Zangon saved her when and after Sephiroth stabbed her, or slashed at her I should say, that she realized what exactly happened. She wound up in a medical facility in Midgard, in underneath the plate, and she started to go into this new world, into this world where she is alone, where she had no help whatsoever. And she also had a huge medical bill that she had to pay off. She had no job, she had no money, no one to help her, and she now was stuck with all this debt. She was just in so much pain. It's just so much PTSD, so much worry happened around her. She could have easily became a very bad person, but she did not. And that showcases just how strong-willed of a character Tifa Lockhart is. She had every right to be a villain. She had every right to, cheat people out of money, go steal, and do all of this. But she did none of that. What she did essentially was find a job and work hard to pay off her debt. She didn't ask for handouts. She didn't ask for, people to give her money to pay off her debt. She didn't even go to sell her body or anything like that. No, because she respects herself too much, right? She hates when people leer at her. And that is what makes a strong person. That no matter how some people look at you, ignore them, right? Because they don't know who you are and you should have respect for yourself, and she did. So what she did was essentially she worked hard. She slowly started paying off her debt. And after being betrayed by a person that she thought was her friend, she did not give up. She continued to work hard and to pay off her medical bill, and then she was finally able to do so. By doing that, she also started making connections. This is how she met Jesse, Wedge, and Biggs. And it's through, working on paying off her debt, she met Marley, who allowed her to really find someone that she can trust, that she can talk to, someone who can give her advice. And it allowed her to essentially start making another connection, which was, the prior owner of the Seventh Heaven bar. And it's through this connection she was finally able to leave her previous job of selling buns to essentially start working at Seventh Heaven, while she slowly started paying off her medical bills. Once she was able to finally pay off her medical bills and was finally able to get away from the debt and the people who were trying very hard to keep her in debt and make sure that she didn't run away, she was able to kick their ass. And then she was finally able to take over the Seventh Heaven bar after the prior owner started getting, sick and unable to really take care. And it was through these connections, through the connection with Marley, that she was finally able to become the owner of the Seventh Heaven bar after the owner passed away. And then, this is where her kindness once again comes through. Because while she was essentially working at Seventh Heaven, Barrett and Marlene showed up. Marlene was in a small dress, dirty dress. Barrett was someone who really wanted, to take care of Marlene and do everything that he could. But, they didn't have a home. They slept outside. When Tifa heard all of this, instead of shooing them away or, ignoring them or just minding her own business, she decided that, I want to help them. Because I know that feeling. I know that feeling of being hopeless and not having anywhere, or having a home. I don't want that to happen to her, to Marlene, to Barrett. So she gave him a home. Seventh Heaven became their home. Barrett worked as a bouncer for the bar at nights, and eventually it became, the Avalanche base. It is through the kindness of own heart that she gave him a home. Because that's who she is. That is who Tifa Lockhart is. If there's someone who needs help, she is more than willing to help. She wants to help. She wants to help people. And she showcased that care. She showcased her kindness with Barrett and Marlene and was able to give them a home. Everyone just started to fall in love with Tifa. Everybody wanted to go to the Seventh Heaven bar because of Tifa. Because of her, who she was as a person. Sure, there were ulterior motives. A lot of the guys who went to that bar wanted to date Tifa. But she, of course, waved them off because, she was just not interested in that kind of relationship with anybody. And then, eventually, a few years later, she goes to the train station. And then, all of a sudden, she sees someone that she recognizes. Someone that belonged to her past. Someone that she thought she would never see again. Cloud Strife. However, Cloud Strife was still, affected by the Mako poisoning. He just arrived at Midgard. After Zack sacrificed himself, Cloud winds up there. And when Tifa saw him, she wanted to help him immediately. She went to him, helped him out, helped him find a home, helped him find a job because of her own kindness. That's who she is. That's why so many people love her. That's why so many people can relate to her, because her kindness is one of her biggest strengths. Her empathy, She may no longer exhibit extroverted tendencies like she was when she was a kid. And that was mostly because of her traumatic experience and everything that has happened. She became more introverted. She became more shy, much more reserved, personality-wise. But that didn't stop her. That didn't stop her from learning from Zangan when she was younger to essentially becoming a strong fighter on her own accord. She continued to learn and train herself. She became stronger. And that is also one of the biggest and I think one of the most well-written parts of her character, is that she doesn't need necessarily being saved all the time. She can hold her own. She can fight. And if you play the games, specifically Remake and Rebirth, you know how good of a character she is in combat. With, her abilities allow you to deal way more damage than with any other character. The only other character that can help you with that is Kate Sith, right? But she is one of the characters that allows you to deal massive damage against stronger enemies. But it's through her training with Zangan, through her determination and hard work, that she was able to become that strong. She continued her training, right? Despite everything, she continued her training because she did not want to feel weak. She wanted to be strong. She wanted to continue, with all her hard work to essentially level herself up as a person, right? She didn't need a handout. She didn't need any of that because what she wanted to do was make it on her own, and she did. Yes, she inherited Seventh Heaven from the prior owner, but it's not because of just some random coincidence. It's because she made connections. It's because of her hard work, the way she worked at Seventh Heaven, the way she learned, the way she became a great cook. It's through those hard works that allowed, the prior owner to see the quality and how much she can help the business, and essentially gave her it. She, I believe also, if I remember correctly, in Traces of Two Paths, worked hard so that she could buy a part of the ownership of Seventh Heaven. If that is a incorrect statement, let me know in the comments below. But again, she worked hard to make that money in order to become the owner of Seventh Heaven. And it's all of the hard work that she had to go to. You can see why so many people can relate to that. You don't even have to be a female fan of Tifa Lockhart to relate to kindness and hard work. You don't have to. I can relate to that. I think that kindness and hard work can really help make who you are as an individual. Right? I don't need to be a female Tifa fan to understand that. I really do not. And that's why I like Tifa. Because of her hard work, because of her kindness, because of her empathy. I think that is one of the best character traits you can have in a character. And as you go through the story of Final Fantasy VII, you see that empathy, you see that, that kindness, that, that feeling of that you can count on her. You could see that through so many different, the way so many different characters view her. because she helps a lot of characters. Barrett, Cloud, Yuffie, Aerith. She helps all of these characters in her own way. And she does so much for the party, right? Her kindness, her empathy really helps keep the entire party grounded. She's there to, be that, character that provides comfort for everybody whenever they feel like, the tension rises, or like some weird incident happen, or like, helps everyone just stay glued together, like whenever Barrett gets angry, she's there to like at least quell his anger down. When Cloud, has his like, really bad, mental breakdowns because of the whole Genova thing, right? She's there to make sure he is grounded. When Aerith needs someone to, comfort her, like in Remake, when the Whisper's surrounding her, she's there. She's the one that grabs Aerith to help her, to make her, realize that she's not alone. That's Tifa. Everyone else is there for Aerith, for her. The way she helps Yuffie, soothe her like a big sister. All of these characters, get some sort of help from Tifa, because one of her big roles in the party is to be that character that helps everyone, have their emotions in check. Be there to, provide, a shoulder, or someone to talk to, or a hand, just to help them out. That is what Tifa Lockhart represents for the party, and it really goes towards her kindness, her empathy, because she knows the pain and struggle that so many people can go through, because she went through a lot, and it's through that kindness, through that empathy, that she's able to connect with them and help ground them. That's just who Tifa Lockhart is, and that's part of why she does a great job, as her role in the party. And the characters respect her. The characters see that hard work and trust her and like her as an individual. It's because of who Tifa Lockhart is, right? Like, so many characters like her because of who she is. So many fans like her because of who she is. You see it throughout the entire story of how her kindness, her empathy, her hard work, how strong she is, and how much she wants to help others. And, she does all of this not for her own benefit, but just it's who she is. That's just the person Tifa Lockhart is. Yes, she has faults. She even admits some of her faults. You see some of that character development happen. She believes that she is a people pleaser, that she hates that part of her. And that's, a flaw in her character. She doesn't have to please everybody, right? It's just who she is, and she is trying very hard to work on it. Even Barrett notices it during, when they go through the caves heading to Junon. You see that. The way Barrett notices, just like, Tifa's kindness is showing, but like she feels like she can't or shouldn't be helping, and Barrett's just like, I got this. Because it's who she is. Her empathy for people she doesn't even know. That shows you just how kind she is. Kindness is such a strong quality in a character that so many people don't realize is a very good quality to have. Once you mix, kindness with empathy, with strength, with hard work, you bundle all of that together to a character that really resonates with so many people. Even her flaws. So many people feel like they have to be a people pleaser, that they have to please everybody, that, everyone should like them. When the reality is, not everyone's going to like you. And Tifa slowly understands that. Like, I don't understand why so many people see Tifa as nothing more than just a character with a, bodacious body or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous, because there's so much more to the character. And so many people do not see that. That's why I like Tifa Lockhart. Because despite, everything else, despite everything that has happened to her, the trauma that she continues to experience with PTSD, and like, how she turned from an extrovert to an introvert because of that PTSD, all of that, despite all of that, she did not waver away from her kindness, her empathy, and her strengths. Because that's who she is. She could have become a villain. She could have become similar to Scarlet. She could have been someone who cheated people out of money, but she did not do any of that. Life threw her curveball after curveball of just continuous trauma, and she never wavered past who she was as an individual. That is why Tifa Lockhart is such a great character. Because at the end of the day, despite her flaws, she continues to try and improve as a character, and her writing is so well written that no matter what, people still love Tifa Lockhart to this day because of how much she resonates with them. And that's how you make a great character. If you are able to make a character that people can relate to, that people can resonate with, that people can love and cherish because of like who that character is as a person and who they want to inspire to be, that's when you know you have a really well written character and why so many people love her. It's why I love her. It's why I like Tifa as a character, and why I think she's one of the best video game characters of all time, and why she's one of the best female heroines of all time. Because that's just Tifa Lockhart. At the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, Tifa Lockhart is and should be viewed as a character whose kindness, hard work, empathy, passion, and just overall just strength, that's what we should be looking at. And it's through all of that that she is one of the best characters ever written. So thank you for watching me talk about Tifa Lockhart. I really enjoyed this. Happy birthday to Tifa Lockhart. It is her birthday today on May 3rd. And yeah, I just really enjoy talking about Tifa because she's just a wonderful character. She is one of my favorite female characters ever written in fiction, and I know there's so many other people who agree with me. So, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.